You're listening to the Bear in Mind podcast, episode number 46.
A podcast uncovering identity, color, and love, where driving yourself crazy is totally sane and curable. Now your host, T. Bias.
Little white lies. Even that phrase, that almost makes it sound like it's not a lie, right? You put little, so it's not that big of a deal. Automatically someone lying, it's not that big of a deal. And then you put something like the word white and you think it's innocent and pure and all of that. And it's kind of interesting how we say it. We kind of create innocence by adding two adjectives before the word lying. And most of us think that lying is not a good thing. And I found out something interesting about lying. I had read the book Nurture Shock by Poe Bronson. And what we don't realize is that children learn lying at a very young age. I mean, really young, when they're starting to talk, because they see their parents lie. But that's not really the case. That isn't that if a parent is lying excessively that the child learns to lie. The way the child learns how to lie is that children take things very literally. And so an example in the book was if a child hears their parents say, well, my child is 4 years old, but the child isn't yet 4. Like, let's say they're 2 weeks away from being 4, and they overhear them saying, yeah, my child's 4 years old, instead of they're 3.5 or are about to turn 3, or just saying 3, the kid will actually interpret that as lying, as not telling the truth. And so that's how they actually learn lying. It isn't that the parents are bad or doing something technically, wrong by stating the rounded up age. That's how they learn it, and it is in fact in a very innocent kind of way. And so since we learn how to lie at a very young age, it's happening as our brain is developing. And so then we, depending on our influences, we tend to think, well, lying's okay in certain situations, like little white lies, and the really big lies, that'll be from how we're socialized, how we were brought up. But there is this kind of spectrum of lying that we define for ourselves and in our life. And so a lot of us will define what is a little white lie. And what I'm going to talk about is why even as an adult, and not anything to do with children, but as an adult, even little white lies are something to question when we do it. And recently, I had a friend talk about, well, it's okay in some situations to lie. Like when my husband cooks dinner and it's not very flavorful and I didn't like it, I'll tell him, oh, it was a good meal. And I was thinking about that, like how, and she, referred to it as, oh, it's just a little white lie. Those lies are okay. And it, is part of being in a relationship. And I like to question everything, especially now, especially as I continue on my own mental health journey and just start to question everything that's been told to me in this world. And I kind of wondered, well, are even little white lies okay? Are they really truly innocent? Are they little? And as I dug deeper inside myself, I realized that there's actually no reason to actually tell a little white lie. Because the reason that most of us have for telling a little white lie is because we don't want to hurt another person's feeling. And in the example of my friend, she doesn't want to hurt the feelings of her husband. So if she were to be honest, I didn't like the meal, that would hurt his feelings. So I'm going to give you 2 reasons why little white lies don't work. Number 1 is we don't actually hurt people's feelings. We think that we do. And from my past episodes, when I've spoken about this, especially in the episodes about other people's opinions, is that people take in information, they hear it, they see it, and they have a thought about it. And this thought is what creates our feelings. And the reason why we know it's the thought that creates our feelings, one of the ways we know that it's the thought that creates our feelings, is because a person can say something to 3 different people, and 3 different people will interpret that. Let's say somebody says something and their intention was a joke. one person could find the joke funny because they had a thought, oh, that's kind of funny, or they see something humorous in it. And so they have laughter. And another person can be offended by the joke. That can easily be seen in any joke, especially around sexism, how subtle remarks are made about that. Somebody will interpret that and think about it, oh, that's funny, and think that that's humorous and feel laughter, feel fun, have that kind of a joyous emotion. And someone might be like, oh, I'm so offended by that. I can't believe he said that about women. And then feel anger because of that thought. And so we don't actually hurt each other's feelings. Now, that's not a reason that you can say anything to anybody, because then that would be coming from how you think about a situation, and then your feelings then drive your actions to act in a way that might be mean or cruel to somebody. But in essence, everybody's kind of responsible for their own feelings, how they think about a situation and how they feel about a situation. So if my friend were to tell her husband, look, I don't like the meal you cooked, or it wasn't very flavorful, he will interpret that. And he might, one of his things is, I don't really care. I cooked dinner, so what? Or he could think, oh, wow, she doesn't like it. I disappointed her. And he might start to feel bad for whatever reason. And, different husbands can experience that in different ways. So then the reason that we have is that we don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. But let's say that my friend knows for a fact that her husband's going to be offended if she says, okay, it wasn't very flavorful, I didn't enjoy it as much, or whatever. And she knows from past experience that he is going to feel some sort of, feels upset about it, about her negative opinion about the meal. Now, what is happening is because she constantly believes that she's causing his feelings when that's not true, is that she also saying that he can't handle whatever emotion the truth brings up for him when she says the truth. Now, I'm going to say that again. She's saying that he, by not saying the truth, when she says the truth, that the truth for her opinion about the meal, that emotion of whatever he would experience, he will not be able to handle that negative emotion of feeling upset. Or the other thing can also be true, that when he is upset, she can't handle his negative experience of the situation. So then it really comes down to the fact that the person telling the little white lie is not actually able to handle their own emotions. Even if they're fearing that somebody else can't handle their own emotions, they still can't handle that fear that they feel because the other person may or may not be upset. I feel like this is kind of a little bit meta and out there. So if you look at the dinner and, well, what could she say that isn't so seemingly so impolite, like the meal wasn't good? One of the things that she could do is just express gratitude. Oh, I really appreciated the meal. And then if the other person were to ask, if her husband were to ask, well, what did you think of the flavor? How did it taste to you? The only thing that's really happening for the person deciding to tell a little white lie is that they can't handle an experience, a negative experience. They can't handle the person that they're going to tell and their negative emotions, and then they can't handle their own negative emotions. And so then from that, I started to question, well, what is Little White Lies about? It's just from us experiencing, not wanting to experience negative emotion. And then what purpose does that serve? And I'm going to leave you with that thought about what purpose does it serve to think that we're protecting everyone from having a negative experience when the world is going to be full of positive and negative experience. So I'll leave you there, and I'll check back with you next week.
Thanks for listening. Listen for a new episode next Tuesday by subscribing on your favorite podcast platform. Bye for now.